Hey fellow designers, it's Karen of Made by KarenM. Today we're going to take a behind the scenes look at how I created this corset beaded lace prom dress. I had 5 yards of beaded lace and satin. I didn't use all of it. These were her inspiration photos. She wanted to do a mashup of these two dresses. Here was her inquiry form, and this was the sketch and measurements. So this was during prom season 2024 when I was in the very early stages of developing my princess seam pattern. It's similar to my crop corset pattern, but very different in that it's for non-stretch fabric, it's longer, and the measurements are different. I've known how to do princess seams for years, but last year was the first year that I really started developing my pattern, and so I was able to test it on multiple dresses to make sure that it was right. Here I am putting together my illusion mesh. Her base was illusion mesh. The top layer of the corset was satin. It wasn't see-through, so I didn't have to use mesh. I just like that it gives the dress a lighter feel. Here I am making the boning casing with my matching satin fabric. I basically take 2-inch strips of fabric and make my own bias binding. Yes, you can use store-bought, but I just like mine to match the dress. If you find some that matches, then by all means do that. So I've attached my boning casing and I'm adding the boning and also making my grommet panels. I have a love-hate relationship with grommet panels. They can be kind of tedious, but I love when they come out really nice and neat. This is how I cut her skirt pattern. Her hip to floor minus knee to floor was 13.5 inches, which was longer than my pattern length. So I added a few extra to make sure that the top part of the skirt was long enough. I like all my dresses to fit my clients the same way, no matter how tall they are. This is how I cut my split, 35% on one side, 65% on the other. And then I cut my beaded lace. Usually I'll put the fabric underneath so it's already pinned and ready to sew. Next, I found the waistline on my corset and pinned the skirt on so I could do a fitting. Here we are at the fitting. Everything pretty much fit exactly like we needed it to. She was really excited. I always have them sit down to make sure there's enough room in the hips. And then I also pinned some appliques on too to get the visual. My least favorite part is removing beads from the seam allowance, but it has to be done. I ended up putting tape around the edges of the fabric. That way I could just hammer on top of the tape and all the broken beads would stick to it. Then all you have to do is just peel the tape off and throw it in the trash. Sometimes some of the thicker beads will not come off and you have to go back over it with scissors. And this is how it looks with the beads removed from the seam allowance. So something about these very long beaded lace trains is that the beaded lace is not that long. I'm cutting this from the knee to the floor. I forget how many inches it is, but there's like a lot of it that doesn't cover the bottom of how long I want my train to be. So I'm gonna have to cut some pieces from here and do some hand stitching to fill in this empty space because I didn't want to lose that much length from my train. Here it is pinned into place. I don't think it's too noticeable. So the top layer of the corset was satin, or should I say the middle layer, because that was also covered with beaded lace. What I like about a solid color corset is that you don't have to sandwich the boning. All you have to do is sew the boning casing to the lining and then lay everything else on top. I'm starting to add the beaded material on top, and I'm just getting rid of some of the beads, of course, with my hammer and tape. I added a piece of mesh in the middle just to keep it from spreading too wide in the cleavage area. Okay, so what I'm doing here, since I have this bunched a little bit, I'm just running my needle back and forth through the different layers. So I want to give it like a little bit of 3D texture. So what I'm doing now is going to keep this little gathered bit in place to give it some structure. Okay, so it's been a slow day. Like, I've made a lot of progress. This is the corset. So this was measured and I covered it with all this fabric. And then these appliques are going to go over here, but I think I'm going to wait until after I attach the skirt. And I still have to add I added the beaded mesh over the train of the skirt, but I have to do it to the back of the skirt. And I have to kind of like pin it and probably hand stitch it maybe, because I don't want to take the darts out. But anyways, this is what the corset is looking like. And I'm struggling over here with these Amazon grommets. I got the first one in. I don't like how that looks, but that was the best I was able to do. I just don't like how small they are. And I'm struggling with getting this wood burner to like make my holes, because it leaves this like plastic, like hard crust. So I'm like gradually trying to work the hole bigger, and it's taking me so long. I learned that if you stick some scissors into the hole while it's still hot, it helps shape the hole better. And then I have to have this little like, I'm trying to do this piece on the shoulder where I have like a piece of this mesh like standing up. So I bought this spray and hopefully like that works. But I've never done this before, so, but that's where I am. Okay, so these that I put in here are the ones from Joann. I had put one of the Amazon ones in, and I ended up picking it out because my hole was just kind of like sloppy, and the grommet, like, I like how these are the Joann ones and these are the ones from Amazon that came with the grommet kit. Excuse my ashy fingers. But I like how these are like the surface area of them is wider. So if my grommet hole is like raggedy, it kind of covers it. And then these are thinner, and these are like even a little bit taller. And I like that because I've been using this extremely thick interfacing. And then this is the other side of the Joann grommet, and this is the other side of the Amazon grommet. So I just like these better, but I'm gonna have to see if I can find them in bulk somewhere for cheaper, because they're like $6 for 8, so you need like 16 to do a corset. Okay, I'm on a time crunch, so I don't have time to do an extensive tutorial, but I'm making this shoulder piece for my prom dress, and I'm spraying it with Beacon Stiffen stuff. I got it from Michael's. I believe it was about $10. And I have my piece pinned down. I had a little roll of paper towel here so that I could kind of curve it around, and I pinned the edges into place. So now I'm just gonna spray this generously. Very generously. And I'm gonna spray the whole thing. My hand's getting tired, I put my phone down. Okay, so it's fully saturated. I'm supposed to allow up to an hour of dry time, and you can also blow dry it. I guess I gotta move on to other stuff, so I'm just gonna let it sit and see what happens. I think it worked, but I have the urge to keep spraying it, because I'm like, what if it gets floppy before her prom? But it's working. This is how I do the armbands on my dresses. Whatever their bicep measurement was, I will tape it to the side of my dress form, and then I'll use that as a guide to see how much space I need to leave in the armband area. And then I just stitch it down. Okay, so I did the fitting with just sewing the satin together. And so instead of picking everything apart, I decided to just overlay the beaded lace and stitch it down. So that's what I've just done. I didn't want to unpick the darts and like risk getting those wrong. So I've kind of curved the fabric around that, and hopefully everything is good. Yeah. The main portion of the dress is done, but this empty space right here where the beading was that I hammered away for the sewing process is really bothering me, so I'm going to try my best to replace these beads so it doesn't look bare at the seam, but the dress is done.
It's not the same. I be